The Mule, Nate White, is back this time as he hopes he will have a fight in June at NEF 43 when he faces Phil Pearson. Nate, how are you?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Good, man. Always a pleasure to have you on. I like that the wallpaper in the background. What? It almost looks like it's velvet. What is that?
I'm not really sure what it is.
Yeah, it's a cool looking room. It's kind of psychedelic. It's really standing out. But it's good to talk to you, man. A lot to get to as the world of sports and MMA in general is kind of on a big shutdown right now during the COVID pandemic. Tell me a little bit about what you've been up to.
I've been working a lot, train a little bit, running and lifting, but pretty much been working. I work for a forestry company, so we do a lot of tree work, and that storm we had a couple weeks ago really helped our business a lot.
Yeah, well, that's very physical work, so it must be good to be able to stay active and at least get a sweat in and get paid for it.
Yeah, it absolutely helps a lot.
Now, do you notice, do you get any benefits from that work for your MMA training? Is there something that you can say, well, yeah, I get to work on this part of my body, or is it just good cardio work throughout the day?
It's real good cardio, but I also think it's, a good leg workout when you're hauling the logs out to the landing and moving brush when it's time to clean up.
Now, do you have to maintain social distancing there at work? How do you guys get around that?
We're all pretty close, so we see each other every day. So the workers, we all, we pretty much work and then go home. So it's not like we're seeing anybody new. But we really don't see too many clients when we're on the job. They pretty much stay away. So, our tight-knit group, we kind of go about our day as usual, but we do stay away from our clients.
Now, is everyone in your family healthy? No one's been affected by this pandemic?
Yeah, nobody that I know in my family's been affected, really. I mean, a lot of people are out of their jobs, but nobody's sick or anything. So.
Right. That's what I was going with. Well, that's good to hear. I'm happy that everyone's healthy and no one has come into contact with this scary virus that's going around and really affecting the lives of a lot of us Americans in more ways than we'd like to think about. But hopefully we're towards the end of it. Hopefully we'll get back to fights again soon. Tell me, as far as your weight goes, I know you try and maintain a certain range here. You got a fight that hopefully will be coming up in June. How are you feeling? Do you feel like you'll be able to still stay on track, hit that 165-pound marker, and be good to go?
I'm like at a perfect weight right now for that. I'm trying to stay low for, later fights so I can cut down. But I'm like right at 165 right now. I don't want to get too much heavier than that. So.
Well, that's good. Now, obviously, the first NEF event here for 43 was canceled because of the pandemic. Hopefully, things do get back to normal, and this fight card does happen. Have you talked to Matt Peterson at all as to, any updates about this? Has he given you any inside information here?
I've talked to him a little bit, and he's pretty much telling me the same stuff. If we can go, we can go. He doesn't want to cancel it if he doesn't have to. But he really wants to have these fights.
And now, is he hoping that fans, I'm sure, will be in the stands for this? Or is there a chance that he could try and put this on a la Dana White, Fight Island, and just have like the necessities there, a ref and the fighters and fans not be in attendance? Is that something that he would even consider doing? Has he mentioned anything like that?
I didn't really talk to him about that part. I know he wants to have the fans in the stands, so if that's possible, he will absolutely be doing that. But other than that, I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, I got to imagine, especially a regional fight, if without the fans there, it'd be tough to do. But I mean, if he did stream it and have people pay online to watch it, I mean, that would be something really interesting. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But as long as we get our fights back, that's all that matters to me. And I know you got to be really excited to step back in the cage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now. And you just had another round one vicious victory over Brian Costco. Your confidence has got to be pretty high right now. Have you been feeling like your training is just getting better and better and you're just evolving?
Yeah, pretty much every fight camp I've had, I've added like a new gym to go train at. I've been going down to Kaze MMA in New Hampshire and training with Mike Bazanson, and Greg Williams has been helping coach me a lot. So, you know, going down there, it's really helping. And obviously my team at CMBJJ and Famoso BJJ, you know, I'm just getting a lot of looks. So, yeah, my confidence is pretty high right now.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and exciting to see you step back in the cage. You really just seem to keep ascending and getting better and better every time. I know with the pandemic, it's made training very, very difficult. Have you got a chance to get any work in as far as recently with your teammates, or has that pretty much just been on hold?
Yeah, it's pretty much been on hold with my teammates, but a lot of self workouts and stuff.
Yeah.
With my friend Ethan, been wrestling and stuff together, but other than that, it's pretty much zero.
Now, is the Phil Pearson fight, is that still the one that will happen, or has he talked about giving you another opponent, or is this the guy that's going to be stepping into the cage with you next?
As far as I know, it's Phil. Whether he shows up or not, I'm not really sure. I don't know too much about him, but you know, hopefully we get that fight. If not, we'll find another one.
Now, why that fight initially? Because he's 0-2. You're now 5-0. I know a lot of people have been wanting to see you step in there against, you know, someone with maybe a record similar to yours to test yourself. Is there a reason why he was matched up with you initially?
I guess he, either him or John Rayo text Matt and asked for the fight. So I said, yeah, let's do it. So that way, you know, I don't want to wait for a training camp. You know, if somebody's going to come ask for the fight right after my last fight, that way I have time to plan, you know, train for a specific opponent. I'll do that. And I like the fact that he asked for it, didn't demand it. You know, if you're going to demand something from me, I'm probably not going to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's got to be exciting for him to be able to test himself against someone that's at your level right now. I know that would be a fight a lot of people would like to see here for the New England Fights promotion. Now, we talked before, Nate, and I know a title shot has got to be somewhere around the corner. Is that something that you're hoping happens in 2020?
You know, a title would be cool, but you know, I just don't really care to really chase it right now. Like I said, I'm still trying. I want to develop and feel even more confident with my skill set, and you know, develop more before I really, you know, feel like I need the title. I've only been really training for just over a year now, so.
You've accomplished a lot in this short year, so really excited to see you step back into this cage here soon. Hopefully the fight card does happen on June 13th, and we'll see you up in Orono for NEF 43 against Mr. Pearson. Before I do let you go, I talked to you a little bit about this. I wanted to do this MMA all-time pound-for-pound tournament where I interviewed a bunch of fighters across the country. I asked you guys to send me your rankings as far as who you feel like is the best pound-for-pound fighters, number 1 all the way right down through number 16, that's ever fought, ever competed in mixed martial arts in general, and regardless of gender, male or female. And so what I did was I compiled a list 1 through 16 and had these matchups. Now, it does take a little bit of, I don't know, thinking outside of the box, because we do have a female in the 16 lineup here. You got Amanda Nunes in the number 5 spot. So it's tough because you're never really going to see a man versus a female, you know, in a sanctioned MMA fight. So you're thinking outside of the box and just looking at their skill sets. But I just feel like during this pandemic, it gives us something to talk about MMA related. And I wanted to get a youngster like yourself's opinion on all of this. So I really appreciate you partaking and doing this with me. For anyone out there that doesn't know, I've interviewed some fighters in the UFC, Bellator, etc. And a lot of them, if not every single one of them so far, has picked GSP, George St. Pierre, to win this whole tournament. And I have a feeling you might be picking someone different. I want to dive right into this bracket. You have George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, Mighty Mouse Johnson, and John Jones in your final 4. Before we talk about those matchups, I want to talk about how we got here. The number 1 seed, George St. Pierre, you have beating Randy Couture in the first round. You have Fedor Emelianenko beating Chuck Liddell. Amanda Nunes gets by Max Holloway, longtime featherweight champion. Anderson Silva beating Henry Cejudo. Khabib beating Daniel Cormier in a matchup of teammates at AKA, which is really interesting. You got Mighty Mouse over McGregor, Aldo over Hughes, and Jones over Cruz. When you're looking at the all-time greats, what factors come into play for you as an 18-year-old? Are you 18 or 19 now?
I'm 20. I just had my birthday.
Oh, okay. Well, happy birthday. See, you're going to like that when you get older. When you get to be my age, you're going to like it when someone says that you're younger than you are. Right now, it doesn't matter because you're still so young.
Right.
But what factors come into play when you were making your list? You haven't been watching MMA as long as a lot of these other people that I've interviewed, but what comes to mind for you as styles and what makes fighters great?
I just think of their heart, like how far they're willing to go to fight and win. I look at wins, strength of opponent, and I do look at like matchups, stand up versus a wrestler-based fighter.
So yeah, there are a lot of very important attributes a fighter can have. You have GSP and John Jones. I believe they were 1-2 or flip-flopped in your rankings. John Jones, clearly, he's one of the best to ever do it. He has popped twice for steroids. I know a lot of people kind of have that like an asterisk next to him for that. Is that something that you consider or no?
Well, it's definitely something to consider, but I also think of all the fights he didn't pop for, and even when he was clean, he was still winning the fights. Yeah. He has one loss under his name, and it was he got DQ'd, so he was beating the bag out of that guy anyways. He would have won. So
yeah, no
I don't know. It's tough to add that in and factor it when he's still so dominant. So I have him as my number one at the top of my list, with GSP number 2.
Well, is there a fighter that you think that you resemble in the cage, your style? Is there someone that you try to emulate or you feel like you're similar to as a fighter?
I like Nate Diaz. I guess I don't really base how I fight off of anybody, but a lot of people say like they think of Nate Diaz when they watch me fight, and I kind of embrace that, I guess, because he's one of my favorite fighters. I think he's entertaining, funny guy. So Nate Diaz.
Yeah, I just interviewed one of his main training partners, Nick Maximoff, who trains right out there at the Nick Diaz Academy. He's Nate's protege, learning right underneath of him. Have you ever thought about, even regionally here, Stockton slapping someone and implementing that into your game plan?
I would love to Stockton slap one person in NEF, and I'm sure most people can guess who that is, but we'll leave it at that.
Okay, all right. That one person who most people can guess who it is, has he had a title fight before?
Yes, he has.
Okay, and did he lose that title fight?
Yes, he did.
Okay, all right. I know where you're going with that. Well, is that fight going to happen? We've talked about it before. I know Matt Peterson and Nick DeSalvo would be salivating for that fight to happen. Is that something that you hope transpires and takes place soon?
It'll probably happen. I know he just got married. I think he's taken about a year off.
So you might as well say his name now that you've talked about him getting married and losing a title fight. We all know who it is.
Yeah, it's Mike Murray. He's actually been pretty cool lately. He hasn't been talking or anything. He commented on my fight video that NEF just posted. Good fight, So I respect that. He's coming down a little bit, but I'm not gonna forget all the stuff he said before.
Is there something specific that he said before that really burns you, that makes you want to say, hey, I want to stalk and slap Mike Murray?
There's just a lot of stuff, and it doesn't really like bother me, but it's like, dude, you're pretty new to the game too. You didn't have a great record when you were talking all this trash. You called me out when you were 2-0, I believe. I don't really think you should be calling people out when you're 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
You just haven't been there long enough. I'm 5-0. I've only been in the game for just over a year now. I'm still not calling people out. You know what I mean? It's just me. I like to kind of stay humble, but, add that little bit to get people going. But, he's been cool, but it'll probably hopefully happen next year.
Very, very good. Well, I can speak for myself, and I'm sure a lot of other MMA fans here in the region. That would be a very interesting fight. Both yourself and Mike have great skill sets, clearly very, very talented fighters in your own regard, and that would be an amazing matchup. So I hope that fight does come to fruition. Let's dive back into this bracket, and I'd like to get some of your picks here. Your final four now, GSP and Anderson Silva. Obviously, that was a fight that was rumored probably when you were like in middle school that was going to take place. It never did happen. Anderson Silva, the bigger man, longtime 185-pound champion. George St. Pierre primarily dominated at 170 his whole career, and then recently captured the 85-pound belt before relinquishing it. Who would win that fight if all things were equal, and why?
I think GSP would. He just always pretty much found a way to win. He's a couple losses, but, if we're talking prime years, I think GSP just was good everywhere he fought. He could stand up and bang. He could go to the ground and win. So, I think Anderson Silva's, top 4. Yeah, I had him number 3 on my list. So, I think GSP would win that. It wouldn't be easy. It'd be a tough fight. I mean, if they fought 10 times, I think it probably would be like GSP wins 6, Anderson Silva wins 4. So
yeah, well, I like that analogy, that breakdown too, because George St. Pierre was very well rounded, and as you saw, Anderson Silva did struggle some with wrestlers. Chael Sonnen really dominated that full first fight until he got caught. So it'd be interesting to see what would have happened if they did match up, and if that size would have played a difference. But either way, 2 of the best to ever do it, and you got GSP moving on to the championship. Who's he going to face? Who wins between John Jones and Mighty Mouse if they fought, if everything was equal? And again, you got to think outside of the box with this for anybody that is maybe just tuning in right now or fast forwarded through this interview. Again, it's if all things are equal, you're just looking at their skill sets. John Jones and Mighty Mouse, 2 of the best ever, but who has the better skill set? Who would win?
I think John Jones wins. He can land some brutal shots on his feet, and if he doesn't want to go to the ground, it's most likely not going to go to the ground. I mean, he fought DC. He was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time in MMA, and DC couldn't really take him down. So I think John Jones wins that pretty cut and clear.
Okay, all right. And so now you got your championship matchup with George St. Pierre and John Jones. A lot of people feel like they're 1A and B, however you want to look at it, and greatest pound-for-pound fighters of all time. No surprise that they're in your championship. And I think I have an inkling as to where you're going here. Who would win this if all things were equal?
I think John Jones wins this. He just finds a way to win when he fights. All the outside stuff behind, he just got caught for being in a vehicle with alcohol and the gun thing. That's personal with him. That's not him as a fighter. I think John Jones wins. Like I said, his wrestling defense is real good. He's good on the ground, and his stand-up's real good. So I think it's a tough fight. It'd probably be a tough split. I don't think he finishes him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, either way, I mean, no matter what you think of John Jones's personal life, in the cage, what he's accomplished is maybe second to none. He's cleaned out a murderer's row of fighters at light heavyweight, and he still has some time left to accomplish some great things. We'll see what happens. Some people feel like maybe his best years are behind him now. If you do look at his last couple of fights, a lot of people feel like maybe he lost to Reyes and to Silva. What do you think the future holds for him at 205? Do you think he's going to lose one of these fights soon, just based on his last couple of performances?
I'm not really sure. I don't know who his next opponent is supposed to be, or if he has a fight scheduled.
Nothing's lined up right now.
Okay, but I'm kind of waiting to see what the UFC says about this latest incident, and I'd like to see him go fight heavyweight, fight Stipe or something for the belt. See, I feel like that would be a good test of him to put on a little bit of weight and see what heavyweight holds.
For sure. No, I agree. And again, maybe that trilogy with DC at heavyweight would be a lot of fun. I know Cormier still has a bad taste in his mouth from that last fight, and then John ultimately ends up testing positive for steroids. So we'll see what happens moving forward. I do got to ask you too, Nate, before I let you go, if the fights do happen on Fight Island and UFC 249 really takes place, who do you think wins that main event between Gaethje and Tony Ferguson?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I hope Gaethje. I don't really like Tony Ferguson. He's just a weird guy. I don't know. I just get a bad vibe from him. But hopefully Gaethje. I don't really know too much about those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't really. I'm not really interested in watching those two guys fight. But together, I'm interested in watching them fight together. There's a lot of hype behind that fight. Khabib versus Ferguson, that'd be a lot better, but I'm happy with that card. It looks real good. Hopefully it happens.
Yeah, I mean, top to bottom, that card is almost as loaded as one that we've ever seen. It really is an amazing lineup that Dana White and the UFC have put together, and hopefully it happens. Hopefully life gets back to normal here for everyone, and we can get back to watching what we love and doing what we love. Nate, I really appreciate the time. I'm glad we get a chance to chat and talk a little MMA during all this downtime, and we're not getting a chance to watch the sport. So hopefully this interview will maybe get some people talking around the New England area, maybe about that Mike Murray fight, but also hopefully this fight with Phil happens in June. Thank you, as always, buddy. If you got anyone you want to thank or any sponsors you have, the floor is yours.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I enjoy coming on the show. I'd like to thank New England Fights for always getting me a fight and accommodating me in every way. I'd like to thank Bestial Energy, my newest sponsor. Adam Schaff from my military police company. He's also a new sponsor. Thank you all. And we'll see you hopefully in June.